What, there's something going on Fifth Street, right?
It might not have been your street. It might have been one over.
Yeah. Can't process.
I don't know.
Bookshare.
I don't know what happened. They reset it after the election and it looks different.
I've done, I guess about our.
Start.
Ready? Go ahead.
All right. It's 6 o'clock on the, what is
12.
the
12.
12th, the 12th of November, and I'm calling the meeting to order, and Jamie Ballmiller will be the flag salute. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, adequate and electronic notice of this meeting has been provided by posting on the bulletin board in the Beach Haven Municipal Building, on the borough website, and mailing the same to the Beach Haven Times, the Asbury Park Press, and the Press of Atlantic City. Mrs. Ballmiller,
Here.
Ms. Lambert,
Here.
Mr. McCaffrey,
Here.
Ms. Snyder,
Here.
Mayor Davis.
Here.
Colleen, did you have an intro you'd like to give for Dr. Stern?
Oh, it'd be my pleasure. Dr. Stern, who is our local expert on the wind turbine project, asked if he could come and do a brief presentation tonight to bring everybody up to speed. And I think it would be very valuable to hear what he has to say. And we thank him very much for doing this yet again.
Is this on?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thanks. It's good to see you all. And like Colleen mentioned, I just want to sort of bring everybody up to date on the Atlantic Shores project, which is the wind turbine project that's proposed pretty much off Brigantine, Holgate, and unfortunately Beach Haven as well. And just a little bit about our organization, Save LBI. You've probably seen some of the signs. We've been opposed to this particular project for some time because we just felt it's just so poorly sited. But we have really not been opposed to all, offshore wind energy or renewable energy for sure. But we feel when you do this in the ocean, you really have to understand what you're doing, and you have to be sensitive to shore communities and so on. So we have opposed this project for some time, and we are in a position now to be filing lawsuits against the project. We're going to be filing a federal lawsuit by the end of the month, and that's going to charge that a number of the approvals that the project has already gotten. You probably saw that they had the environmental impact statement approved and various other permits. And we're going to charge that those were not done correctly, and we're going to seek to overturn those approvals. And that is going to become very important when we talk about what might happen with the new administration in Washington. But anyway, that's where we stand on the federal side. On the state side, the project is still awaiting one important approval, and that will come, we think, from the Board of Public Utilities in December, if the board agrees to grant the project additional subsidies to make it viable. These projects are really not competitive on the open market because they're very expensive. So they require subsidies in order for the company to make a profit. And so the Board of Public Utilities is considering that now. We've been trying to get the board to not make that award, but honestly, I don't think that's going to happen. I think they probably will make the award. So that's kind of where the project stands and where we stand. And now, as you notice, we have a change in administration in Washington, and President-elect Trump is apparently not fond of offshore wind and has made a number of statements that he does not think it's useful. He does apparently recognized some of the impacts, the adverse impacts with it. And in a few statements, he even mentioned New Jersey specifically. So it looks like he has been briefed on it, and it looks like there's going to be a change in direction from Washington in terms of the overall program. But then the issue then becomes, well, what's that going to do for us? How will that affect this particular project? And, you know, if you're a wind project that's sort of still on paper, you know, just in the planning phase, then I think the president could issue an executive order and just direct the agencies not to pursue it. And that would be really kind of straightforward and simple. But for this project, since it already has some federal permit approvals, it's not that easy to just reverse that with an executive order. The company could go into court and they could argue that, well, they got the approval in the proper way and that the executive order really doesn't have the force of law to overturn that. So that leaves some other options, perhaps. The Inflation Reduction Act that you probably heard about that passed, I think, about a year ago, that had in it pretty generous tax credits for these projects. Like a project can get 30 to 40% tax credit for an offshore wind project. That's 40% of its capital cost. So that's a lot of money. This project capital cost might be around $18–19 billion. So tax credit the federal tax credit is pretty substantial. So one thing that the Congress might do is rescind or curtail those tax credits. And that would probably make this project unattractive financially to the company. So change to the Inflation Reduction Act might be a way to go. But those tax credits didn't just apply to offshore wind, they applied to nuclear energy and some other things as well. So it's not clear how the Congress might want to deal with that. But that's one possibility that might be pursued. Another legal possibility might be, and this might be a stretch because this would require 60 votes in the Senate, but some improvements to the Endangered Species Act and the Marine Mammal Protection Act. As we've learned a lot about marine mammals and the whales, I believe those acts are not as strong as they really should be. There's a lot of room for interpretation in those acts, and I think they could be strengthened to protect marine mammals. And that would also make it harder, but rightly so, to cite some offshore wind turbines. Like for example, in these acts, the agency can designate an area as critical habitat for a whale. And as the name implies, that's crucial to their survival. Well, you know, one simple, obvious thing would be after they designate a critical habitat, well, don't put a wind turbine project in there. And so it's, you know, kind of some common sense things that I think could be done to those statutes. Whether the Congress wants to take that up, I do not know. And then you have executive orders, and the president could certainly issue some executive orders stopping, curtailing wind projects. But the issue there becomes, since this project already has some approvals, how effective would that executive order be? And in court, it might not be that effective if the company went to court. And as I said, they claim they already have the approval. They got it legitimately. We're going to question that, but that would be their argument. And court might agree with them. So it's not clear that an executive order would really affect this particular project. So what we're doing, we are continuing to pursue our lawsuit. The strongest, most permanent way to end this project, in our view, would still be to have a judge say, no, those prior approvals were not valid. They were unlawful, in which case then they're gone. Then they're gone. That's sort of the ultimate test. And there's really, there's two things that we want the judge to say. One is that the project approvals were not valid, but the other is that the award of the geography of the lease area that was actually done in 2016, we want the judge to say that award was also not valid. Because if we just get the project canceled, but the company still has the lease to the area, they can resurrect the project at a later date. So the company, if it's just a project, is put on hold. In our view, that's not sufficient. We have to get the lease area itself declared invalid to make sure there's an end to the story. So, that's kind of the situation. And, maybe the administration will come up with some other, unique approach that we haven't thought of to terminate the project. That would be great. So we'll be watching. We'll be watching to see what they do. So the bottom line is, things are looking up because at least now in court, when we go to court, we'll probably be facing a more favorable atmosphere because the Justice Department lawyers who would defend the case, they may be more sympathetic to us now. And so maybe it might be easier to reach a decision in court that's favorable to us. But still, we have to do a good job. We have to convince a judge that we're right. So we're not letting up. We're not letting up on our effort. And as we speak, our attorneys are working on the briefs. And like I say, we're going to file that by the end of the month. So it's an interesting time. And things, the dynamics are changing. And we're going to have to watch it very closely and see how it can affect us. If you have any questions, be glad to pursue them.
I wanted to mention that, obviously you're pursuing on the federal level, and I think most of you know that we are also pursuing it on the state level.
Right.
There are lawsuits going. In fact, we just got another letter today about pushing. And also, I think I saw something about a week or two ago about Sweden turning down wind farms because of national defense
that
issues,
was really
concerns.
interesting because Sweden has been a strong proponent of these turbines, but they apparently realized that the turbines, number of projects that they were planning on were going to interfere with their military radars on shore. And they're a little concerned now about Russia, and they did not want to tolerate that impairment of their defense capability. And actually, that's one of the issues that's of concern to this project because we have military radars in Gibbsboro, New Jersey, and they look out over the ocean for, unwanted things. And those radars will be impaired by this project. And so there have been rumblings from the Department of Defense our Department of Defense about this project and other projects, we've not been able to really get a lot of information about that. You know, maybe some of it's classified, but I'm pretty sure that our Defense Department has had some issues with this as well as Sweden.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think that was a pretty strong statement from a country that has really been, you know, trying to move very rapidly on wind turbines.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Any other questions?
No.
Just,
No.
I don't have any questions. I don't know if anyone else does. I'm just really grateful that you are
Ah,
just.
no problem. Appreciate your
Just,
time,
you
and
know,
we'll keep you
not
posted.
giving up and-
Something significant happens, we'll be sure to let you know.
Yeah, I can't thank you
you.
enough.
Thank you very
Thank you
much,
for
Dr.
coming.
Stain.
Thank you.
Okay, cash receipts in the current fund account for the period of October 1st to October 31st, 2024 were $3,160,146.78. Cash disbursements in the current fund account for the month of October totaled $4,472,848.23. Cash receipts in the water utility account for the period of October 1st to October 31st, 2024 were $30,627.52. Cash disbursements in the water utility account for the month of October totaled $71,322.24. Cash receipts in the sewer utility account for the period of October 1st to October 31st were $23,181.78, while cash disbursements in the sewer utility account for the month of October totaled $270,523.32, submitted by our treasurer, Sherry Bowler. For ordinances, 2024-33C, an ordinance amending Chapter 2, Administrative Code, Section 33, Beach Haven Community Garden, in the Borough Code of the Borough of Beach Haven, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, to remove the language requiring a community garden committee. Final reading.
Final reading, if there's anybody on Zoom or in the public that would like to speak to this, this is your chance. This is pretty much just a technicality. Is there anybody on Zoom? Okay, therefore, I'm closing the floor, and do I have a motion to adopt 33C?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Mrs. Ball Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Lambert,
Yes.
Mr. McCaffrey,
Yes.
Ms. Snyder,
Yes.
Mayor Davis.
Yes.
Ordinance 2024-34C, an ordinance amending Chapter 95, Fire Prevention of the Code of the Borough of Beach Haven, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, as it pertains to the Uniform Fire Safety Act enforcement, to make application fees non-refundable and required for owners with more than one rental property within the same block and lot. Final reading.
Again, this is final reading, so I'm opening the floor to any comments. Is there anybody on Zoom? No. Okay, nobody in here wants to speak? Do we have a motion to adopt ordinance 24C?
34C.
Motion to adopt.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Mrs. Ball Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Lambert,
Yes.
Mr. McCaffrey,
Yes.
Ms. Snyder.
Yes.
Mayor Davis.
Yes.
Ordinance 2024-35C, an ordinance amending Chapter 212 zoning, Chapter 167 site plan review, and Chapter 90 fees of the Borough Code of the Borough of Beach Haven, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, to adopt new zoning definitions, to increase the lot size required for duplexes, to remove reference to outdoor dining that are now covered under Chapter 137, to update the requirement for continued certificate of occupancies to be recorded at the county, and to eliminate the site plan subcommittee and permit site plan exceptions to be reviewed and issued by the construction official and zoning official. Final reading.
Again, this is final reading, so the floor is open to anybody that wants to make a comment. I think some people might in this particular ordinance. Is there anybody that wants to comment? In the audience? Is there anybody on Zoom? What?
Meg Maskell.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I realize it's
adoption time and probably a little too late.
No,
but
no, now is the time to be heard. Go ahead, state your name and address.
yep, Meg Maskell, 316 Fairview Ave.
right ahead.
So this is in regards to the duplex part of the amendment. I'm a little bit opposed to the extent that we would be raising the minimums. I just think about duplexes as a slightly more affordable place to live on the island as opposed to a whole entire single family residence. Housing in Beach Haven is prohibitive to most. As someone who grew up on the island and is now stepping into my family business, I have been personally struggling with housing. And I've been personally touring duplexes and trying to find places I can rent that are less expensive than renting a entire single family home. So that said, if we do raise the minimum square footage for duplexes to be that much, the only duplexes that will get built are these like huge duplexes that again are going to be unaffordable. So that's really just my piece. Especially because it was a very big jump from the 60 to 100 or the 10,000 square foot. So it's more than double what two single family square footage would be. So that's my piece. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Would anybody on council like to speak to this? I mean, I personally sort of agree with Megan. I'm not all for decreasing decreasing building to the point where we're somewhat overbuilt. But the only problem, if it was like 90 by 100, I feel more comfortable. I can't imagine anybody with a 100 by 100 lot that's going to not just build two single family residences. Jamie did a lot of research on this, so I'd like to hear her.
I mean,
Viewpoint again.
we've talked about this multiple
Yep.
times, multiple meetings and multiple zoning meetings
Yep.
that we've had.
We have.
So just to give you like some background, Long Beach Township doesn't even have a duplex zone any longer. Surf City requires 10,000 square feet. Ship Bottom requires 8,000 square feet, but their lot sizes are significantly smaller than our lot sizes. And Barnegat Light is like 9,500 square feet. And I mean, I understand where you're coming from because I bought a small duplex almost over 10 years ago when the prices were a little bit easier to digest. But my house looks like a single family home. It's a top and a bottom. Unfortunately, what is happening, and I've had my pulse on this development since going into my second term of council, is that's not what is happening. What we have are developers seeking out oversized lots, asking for a subdivision, not getting the subdivision, or getting the subdivision with the threat of building a duplex in areas that don't have duplexes, just single family homes, but are allowed in that zone. So it's really what you are wanting is what I would prefer a developer to come in and do, build a smaller, modest duplex, top and bottom level, but that's not what's happening. You're having duplexes that are being built that are significantly oversized, 4 bedrooms each side, each have a separate pool, and they're not affordable for the working class like myself. So in the past, when this did happen in the 70s and 80s, when these were built, it was an excellent opportunity for working class families like myself to actually do that and offset their rent and their taxes. That's not the case any longer, unfortunately. Every developer is trying to grasp up every little morsel of this town. And my top priority is to decrease overdevelopment and decrease density.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to speak to this? Nobody? Nobody on Zoom? Okay, do we have a motion to approve this ordinance?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Mrs. Ballmiller,
Yes.
Ms. Lambert,
Yes.
Mr. McCaffrey.
Yes.
Ms. Snyder.
Yes.
Mayor Davis.
Yes.
Ordinance 2024-36C, an ordinance amending Chapter 184 Tennis Courts Municipal, Chapter 145 Pickleball Courts Municipal, Chapter 61 Boat Ramps Municipal in the Borough Code of the Borough of Beach Haven, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, to establish uniformity within the Recreation Department's season of operation and past requirements and remove outdated information. Final reading.
Again, this is open to the public. If anybody would like to speak, or is there anybody on Zoom?
No.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve ordinance 36C?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mrs. Ball Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Lambert,
Yes.
Mr. McCaffrey,
Yes.
Ms. Snyder,
Yes.
Mayor Davis.
Yes.
Ordinance 2024-42. This is the 2024 salary ordinance, which establishes the ranges for the positions. Final reading.
Again, is there anybody in the audience or on Zoom that would like to speak to this ordinance?
I don't have anyone on Zoom.
So is there a motion to approve ordinance 42?
I so moved.
Second.
Mrs. Ball Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Lambert,
Yes.
Mr. McCaffrey,
Yes.
Ms. Snyder,
Yes.
Mayor Davis.
Yes.
Ordinance 2024-37C, an ordinance amending Chapter 57, Beach Protection, Article 1, Protection of Beaches and Dunes of the Borough Code of the Borough of Beach Haven, County of Ocean, to require planting and native vegetation, proper irrigation on the west side of the dune as a condition of approval for private dune walkovers. First reading.
This is first reading. So it is not open right now for public discussion. And I think a lot of you that are here and on Zoom want to talk about this. And you will be able to talk about it when we open for public discussion, just not now. Right now, the council has a chance to talk about this particular ordinance.
Want me to start?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna just recommend to the council that we pull this ordinance because I don't feel that we have legally a grasp of, what we can and cannot do regarding dune walkovers. There's a lot of things that kind of changed after beach replenishment, where if you signed the easement to allow someone on your property, then you were given a dune walkover. And so there's a lot of things that I feel like I need to read about with all of this that's happened with after the beach replenishment, that I really don't understand why dune walkovers were kind of dangled and given as for property owners. The way that I always thought private dune walkovers worked was where you wouldn't have a quick access to public access, like larger lot sizes in like Love Ladies, Harvey Cedars, Barnegat Light, where public access is quite it's a little bit hundreds of feet away. So you have the dune walkover and it really wasn't an issue. But what I'm finding when I went to look at all of we have 21 dune walkovers currently in Beach Haven. And what I'm finding and what I'm looking at is, our street sizes are only 300 feet wide from public to public. And then we have 3 private dune walkovers in between that, where you could kind of jump from the public to the private, which I didn't think really makes sense to me. And I mean, the whole purpose of the dune is for protection. And if you have multiple 2 to 3 walkovers in between a 300-foot area, you're kind of almost, that's not really what the dunes are for. It's kind of the integrity of the dune system is compromised when you have multiple walkways in between that 300 feet. So personally, I need to read about this more. I know that I feel like they've significantly increased within the past 6 years that I've been on council. I think when I started, maybe there was only 1 or 2, and now it's, grown exponentially. And I think one of the reasons is because when you look at them, yeah, I want that. And, I want that and I want that. But you really have to look at the big picture of what the dunes are for. And the dunes are for protecting everyone behind the dunes, not just a homeowner. And a private dune walkover is where you can't get to the public walkover, but we don't have that problem in Beach Haven. Our public, they're only 300 feet, most of them. So I really have to take a look at this. Right now, I don't see I don't think that they're necessary. at all. And I think that when you're, haven't we learned, I mean, we within a short amount of time from our last hurricane, like we can't really break the integrity of the dune system. So I am recommending that we do pull this ordinance, but for me right now, I'm being fully transparent that I'm gonna need a lot of convincing that these are necessary.
Well, also in agreement that we pull it tonight because we don't have enough information. We don't know, we don't have enough. I don't think the property owners have been notified I'd rather be as transparent as possible, talk about it tonight and make sure that all of the oceanfront owners have a chance to find out that this is coming up for discussion and to show up and to speak up. I always struggle with this as well because seems ridiculous to me, as you said, to see a walkover literally right next to the public entrance to the beach. And I don't, whether I like it or not is neither here nor there. But if it in fact damages our dune system and it is, a threat to the dune and the protection of oceanfront owners and everyone else as a result, then I think that's something we owe to our dunes and our environment to listen to and judge. I do think that some of the owners, the oceanfront owners who have these walkovers right now, do a wonderful job. They maintain them beautifully. Some have even been generous enough to irrigate the dune and plant the dune on the west side and roll them up they follow the ordinance. And yet then again, we have quite a few, many that don't do that. And it's become a real nuisance for our public works department. They're not rolled up on time. The fence is dangling, it's up and down, broken, and it looks terrible in some spots. So I think, and we have fines, and it's really not enforced. That's on us. So there's a lot of work to do here and a lot to talk about. And I'm glad we're pulling this so that we can get more information from attorneys and from homeowners and then see what happens.
Either of you?
Okay. I agree that pulling it is the right decision. I did some research on my own and I went up and down the island, talked to all the municipalities, found out what they were doing. And basically, outside of Barnegat Light, everybody allows them. And some of them are far more lenient as far as when they need to be rolled up. Some don't require rolling up at all. I think we've moved past the irrigation system thing, right? I don't know. But that was like, everybody looked at me like, are you crazy? You're going to make them irrigate that? So I hope, but one thing that came out, and I have a call in right now, the DEP, because I was told by another municipality that when they looked into it, the DEP was not taking a stand on this per se. And I thought that was curious. And if they're not, then I wondered why. So I would like to hear about that also. I think, as Kitty just said, it's an enforcement issue. The people who are following the rules, and I know, Jamie, what you're saying about the dune integrity, I'm not sure. I feel that they do compromise it. But enforcement, I mean, if you're not following the rules, you get cited, you get fined, and maybe about the third time, then your walk goes away, your permit goes away and everything else. But again, I think it's something we need to sit down and talk about, and this should be pulled.
I also think that we'll be looking at, I probably shouldn't say this, but I also think that we have to realize that we will most likely a nice fat lawsuit.
I can't hear
Oh,
you.
yes.
This, right? So it's just something else to consider.
Personally, I would like to hear from the homeowners that have these walkways and see what their perception is on it. The other thing is, if they're not going to maintain it, we're going to have a certain set of rules. And I would like to table it for tonight so we could get some rules in this. So if the people don't maintain it, we have a way of getting rid of it, where the people that are maintaining it and doing a good job with it, pulling it up and back and forth, we allow them to have it. But if they're not going to maintain it, then we're going to have it removed, and they're not going to get the permit to do it. That's how I feel about it.
Well, I
I
agree with
agree.
everybody. I think we should pull this for the time being. I do not think that the walkovers really hurt the integrity of the dune, as long as the main thing is Public Works is having a very difficult time maintaining the beaches and the dunes during the off season. And that's because some people do not roll these up. And we have to have very strong enforcement. I've been very much involved on trying to rebuild the dunes and plant the dunes. And back after Sandy, had a whole committee and we worked very hard, and I still have money to do this. And what by irrigating, the thing is that if you water these plants right after they're planted for at least a year, they'll take off. Right now, we've had a drought. If we had planted the dunes this fall, nothing would have survived. But if you go look at the dunes, you see the dunes that are well planted, where people have taken care of them and where the plants have become established, the grass as well as the bayberries and the beach plums, you'll note that they're healthy and they look fine. The drought's not affecting them at all. So I do think that people that are willing, and I'm not saying put an irrigation system on the dune itself, but shoot some water out on these plants on the west side of your dune. The west side really needs it. The east side gets the spray from the ocean. You don't get bayberries and beach plums growing much on the east side, but the dune grass needs the spray from the ocean, and that's what keeps it alive. But on the west side, you do need water. And people, if we can get the homeowners to do that, to initially when we first start planting the dunes or after a storm, that's going to really improve the integrity of the dunes. And that's why I do support it. If the homeowner really feels this walkway is beneficial to them, some people have handicapped kids and handicapped people are elderly in the home, that it is a nice thing to have. Maybe we want it to stop a little bit before it gets all the way to the end of the beach. I don't know, but I think we can talk about this and come up with a solution that makes everybody happy. So I guess we're unanimous in
No,
the fact that
I just have a question for you, Mayor. So if you're allowing like when we go through this ordinance and, we look at everything, if every single homeowner, every single oceanfront homeowner had a dune walkover, you don't think that would
Well,
do anything to the integrity of the dune system? Because because in between certain streets, there's 3 and 4 now. So if everybody wants one. would want one.
I think if they're done properly and they're supposed to be very narrow, they're supposed to, I don't think
4
that's gonna wreck the integrity. I really
So,
don't
yeah.
think that's gonna. And I think if the homeowner can make sure the dune is irrigated during the early stages of planting, that's gonna be more helpful than anything. So getting that vegetation on the west side of the dune is critical.
It's just, when is enough enough? Like we
Well,
build and we build.
I think
everyone has a
I think you can
walkover,
come up with a
everyone has
solution.
a
Maybe people that live right next to a street end shouldn't have a walkover.
You can't do that. Everyone gets it or everyone doesn't get it. You can't just pick and choose who gets it.
Well, maybe you can. But maybe you
Well,
can.
Wow.
I mean, you have to
I mean,
enforce whatever rules you establish.
And something else to think about is the fact that, is it grandfathered if you've had it for 5 years? Is it, is retroactivity? So we have to find all this information out and know what we're dealing with. I agree with Nancy in that if you don't irrigate the west side, and how about the people that looked at you with 2 heads? Because if you look at, I see the Johnsons here tonight, their dune is beautiful because they irrigated. If you water it, it lives. And Chris Carson was at 6th Street because there's irrigation there. It's doing great. And if you don't irrigate it, it doesn't live. And that protects, that helps the integrity of the dune. So it's like, it's something that I'm glad we're talking about this. And I think we need to come up with a solution. And of course, the main priority is the integrity of the dune. So let's see what we can find out.
Okay, I agree.
Thank you. Ordinance 2024-43C, an ordinance amending Chapter 204 Water in the Borough Code of the Borough of Beach Haven, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, to require all new and replacement water meters be purchased by the property owner from the Borough of Beach Haven and to establish the process of purchasing. First reading.
This isn't open for public discussion, but does anybody on council want to talk about this or say anything? I have a question. How many How common is it for somebody to have to replace their water meter?
Not very, but they've been installed many years ago, and we foresee that they're going to start to need to be replaced in the coming years.
Okay. I mean, I know it was around, they were being installed right when I started on
Right.
council, which was 2014,
No,
20, I think
2010, we
15.
started the
What?
process.
What?
2010, we were starting the
20,
process.
that's right, 2010, yeah, that's right. God, time goes. Okay, so thank you. Is there anybody else on council that have any question about the water meter?
I did ask some questions this afternoon in the office, and I did ask how much these would potentially cost the homeowner, because that's a concern, and there, I think, Mike, you said you thought about $250-ish.
She said 250.
So that's not,
Oh, that's it?
that's
Yeah.
not terrible. So I felt a
No.
little better.
No, that's
after
not
that, yeah.
terrible. And we were lucky we got them for free initially, so.
Well,
Well, we
I don't
didn't-
know. I wish, I remember when we didn't have them.
We didn't have them. Well, I do too. Oh, and that was nice.
We're still paying for
I was
it.
And
gonna
we're
say.
still paying for it.
Yeah.
Well, not really.
I know.
Yeah,
I'm like
really.
still
We're
in the trash
actually-
cans were behind my house.
not
I'm
really.
living in the past.
Anyway, okay, I don't feel like getting on to that. Okay,
I'm kidding.
resolutions?
Do I have a motion to approve 43C?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
So moved.
Do we have any
Second.
motion?
Mrs. Ball Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Lambert,
Yes.
Mr. McCaffrey.
Yes,
Ms. Snyder.
Yes,
Mayor Davis.
Yes,
All matters listed under item consent agenda are considered to be routine by the municipal council and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed. Any items requiring expenditure are supported by a certification of availability of funds, and any item requiring discussion will be removed from the consent agenda and discussed separately. All consent agenda items will be reflected in full in the minutes. Resolution 201, returning piling bonds. 205, returning remaining escrow. 207 is authorizing the execution of an agreement with the Ocean County Board of Commissioners for the use of the Ocean County Recycling Center and the Revenue Sharing Program. 208, consenting to the issuance of amusement licenses for Wainwright Amusements LLC, doing business as the Fantasy Island Amusement Park for 2020.
Okay.
Okay, sorry
Um,
about that.
Anyway, we were given a permit for a dune walkover. Our dune walkover cost between $6,000 and $7,000 to build. And we have been compliant in every way possible. We roll up our dune path at the end of the season. We make sure that our posts and fencing are secure. We pay our annual $75 fee. And then we went one step further and irrigated our dune and planted our dunes. And I am happy to stand here and say that our dunes are a full 2 feet higher than the dunes to the south of us because we've done those plantings. So we've been good citizens. But I appreciate the fact that, to Kitty's point, there are people who are not good citizens when it comes to their dune walkovers. Their fencing is falling down, their posts are falling down, they're not pulling up the pathways. And I appreciate that. And I think the answer is a simple one. We have a code enforcer. We need to enforce the codes in the community. And if that means writing letters of warning, the code enforcer needs to be empowered to do that. And if it means handing out summonses, he has to be empowered to do that. But it pains me to think that we're going to reduce things to the lowest common denominator rather than to the highest common denominator. The good guys shouldn't be punished and the bad actors need to step up. And that's my point on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody on Zoom?
No, yes, hang on a second. I think
Okay.
Mr. Grasso wants to speak. Robert Grasso?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hi. This is not Robert, it's Teresa. So I think I'm going to just say a few words. I appreciate the
Stress.
thoughts, the comments that were made by the
You need
council.
to state your address.
I am.
Okay.
We currently own a home at 100 Glendola. A lot of you know us. We've been to a lot of meetings. We've been on the island since 1982. We are those who follow the rules also. Our dune is spectacular. We plant dune grass, we have irrigation systems, and we find that our dune, again, we were cut off, so I don't know who was speaking before us, but our dune is very high by comparison to the people to our north. So I'm assuming that that was Robin Johnson that was just speaking?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
she's our neighbor. She's on Holyoke, we're on Glendola. And our dunes abut each other, and they are magnificent. They're high, they're beautiful, and they do provide additional protection, if not only for our home, but for the block. I know that it's said that some oceanfront owners are not abiding, and there's no reason for that. And you guys really should enforce the code. And maybe it hasn't been, maybe it has to be looked into. But by saying you want to just get rid of our dunes is not fair. We've had a permit since 2016, and we've kept it in full force and effect. We roll up, we put out, we try to fix the fencing when possible. We work with the town, and Chris Carson will tell you that too, because what happened on Glendola is that the regular dune walk for the block was severely damaged, and they had to cut across, coming across our property, almost to Holyoke, actually. It was a problem for a lot of the older people on our block, and we did grant them access to the beach via our dune walk. And all of that is factual, and I'm sure anybody on our block will tell you that. We're a very close-knit block. We're all owner occupied, and we all take care of our property. The other thing that I wanted to mention very briefly is that every year we do get a permit for this dune walkway. This year we didn't get one. Originally, I thought it had something to do with the restoration project, and I figured it would come eventually. But now with all of this happening, I'm a little skeptical. And I'm a little skeptical also because what happens, like I said, we've been down there since 1982. So when certain things happen involving oceanfront owners or people that don't live here full time, it always occurs on the months that we're not there. So I don't know why the dune applications were not sent out this year. Maybe somebody on the council can tell me that. I'd be more than happy to pay my money again, like I do every year. I usually pay it immediately. I go into town. It comes May or June, so I go into town and pay the money. This is very sad for us because we've worked very, very hard on maintaining the dune. I don't know if you know our house, you know we were hit with Sandy. You know what happened to us in Sandy. We restored the house to the way it was before. And it took us a number of years to get the dune to look the way it does. Come out, come by, say hello. Obviously, it'll look better in the summer than in the winter, but we have no problem with that. We have nothing to hide. And that's basically all I wanted to say at this point. I know my husband has a few words, so let me give him his 3 minutes and the rest of mine. And thank you for holding off on this until maybe we're around so that we could all get together and work out something together. But by saying you want to take it away, you're causing an issue. Remember why you put it there to begin with. You gave us the opportunity to do that. You know, you have to go back and remember that.
I can answer your question about why the permits
Oh, I
weren't,
know.
the applications weren't sent, because we were really staring down the barrel of the replenishment project and
That's
thought
what I thought.
that it
That's
could have
what I
come right midsummer, and we didn't want to add insult to the injury, insult to injury. So we just held off to see what would happen.
No problem whatsoever. That was my initial thought. But when I hear about these things going on and there's scuttlebutt about this, about that, and who doesn't want to have the dune walkovers, who don't think they're necessary, and why should they have it? I mean, it's very disheartening. It's a small town, and basically a lot of us know each other, and it's just it just feels like every time we're not there, we get stabbed in the back. It's not the first time certain things have happened. It's not the first time I've been in front of this council or have sent emails. You probably all received my email, and I thank you, those of you which have read it.
All right, I think our time is up. Did Robert want to speak as well?
Now let him say hello.
I'm going to speak. Over the years, we have spent over $75,000 on our dune or the Beach Haven dune. Irrigation system, planting. The dune fence of the walkway, that we have a fence for the walkway, increases the sand at least 2 feet higher when we have a northeaster or winter. Our dune next to us on the left, the north, is 2 feet shorter than our dune. Our dune and Eric Johnson's dune, if you look at the work that we both have done to enhance the dune, to enhance Beach Haven and both our blocks, talk to our neighbors, ask them how they feel about what we have done. We let people use our walkway, and we always follow the code. That's all I have to say. So basically, it does help the dune. It increases. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anybody else in the room like to speak to this issue?
I just have one, I'm going to make one comment on, and I thank you for your comments. And I hear what you're saying, but I do want to just respond to one thing that you said, Ms. Grasso, that when you're not here, we're stabbing you in the back. That is not true. And I'm sorry that you feel that way, but we have, 12 months of the year and 2 meetings a month. Everybody knows about it. We have them on Zoom. You can come in person, and we are not trying to do this in the dark of night in January, like they always used to say. Sometimes we do move things in January. It's just the way things happen sometimes, but certainly no one is intending to stab you in the back. And I resent that remark. Thank you.
Yes, come forward.
Eric Johnson, 111 Holyoke. I wanted to talk as to the aspect of the dune fence itself, it's actually, Bob's right, it does collect sand. That's why if you look at the beaches, they run sand fences. Did you hear anything?
He's
that I said?
quiet.
Yeah.
Should I start over?
You got to talk
No,
right
you're
into the
good, you're
microphone.
You're good.
It's being recorded, so.
So the fencing that's used on the beach, they seem to run it east, west, north, south, any direction you run it, you're gonna benefit by stopping the sand when it blows. And the dune fences, dune walkovers all run east, west. Normally, when you get a storm, it's out of the north, northeast, so it does do some positive stuff to us out there.
Yeah.
And he's right, we planted our dunes, spent a lot of money doing it, we irrigated our dunes. I think you could make that a prerequisite for getting a permit in the future if you wanted to. I just think that it's all positive towards the community. I think that it's a good idea, and I people aren't willing to do that, then maybe they shouldn't get a permit, that's all. But to deny or take away something that we already have is wrong also. Have any questions for me?
I do not.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And
Is there anybody else on Zoom that would like to speak?
Don't see any.
Okay, well, this will come up again.
Yeah.
So that ends our discussion. Is there anybody else like to speak about anything else? No? So we move on to I'm closing the floor to public comments, and we move on to final remarks by council. Want to start? Did you start last
I
time?
started last.
Okay, we'll start at the
I'll
other
start.
end.
Okay.
Okay. First, I want to thank the Community Arts Program for the wonderful Veterans Day service yesterday. Mayor Davis gave a very nice speech, and it's always nice to see our vets out there and everybody who's coming to support them. And I want to thank all of them for their service and dedication as well. And thank you to the voters of Beach Haven. Appreciate your support. That's it.
I also would like to thank the voters of Beach Haven. It was a very good turnout, and I appreciate their support. I'd also like to congratulate Councilwoman Colleen Lambert for being named Woman of the Year by the American Association of University Women of New Jersey.
Oh,
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Congrats, Colleen.
She didn't bother telling anybody about it. I
I
had to
saw
read
it.
it in the paper.
I forgot. That's it.
That's it. I'm done.
Congratulations, Colleen.
Thank you.
Sure, it's well deserved. And congratulate all of our candidates, Colleen and Mike and Lori. I look forward to working with Lori. I thank all of those who ran. It's not easy, and it's hard when you're trying your best. And I especially want to thank Mayor Davis. 15 years? How many years?
14.
14. You've been, well, we have a couple more months, but I just want to thank you for the time that you've given to Beach Haven. It is a thankless job most of the time, but I know how much you care about the town, and really just, we owe you a vote of thanks. Thank you so much. I wanted the ceremony at that Cat put on yesterday was beautiful. It just brings tears to your eyes. It's always so heartwarming, and it was really great. Seeing the children from the Beach Haven School was especially awesome. So that's it. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Kitty. Jamie?
everybody said everything. Colleen, congratulations. I did not know that. It was well deserved. I wish I was at the CAP presentation. We don't have Veterans Day off any longer, my school, but I always enjoyed going to that with the Beach Haven School. And thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson and Mr. and Mrs. Grasso. I know that your dunes are magnificent. I mean,
Yeah.
if you look at yours as an example, I'd like to, speak to you further in the future when we go through this and see exactly what you have done, because I mean, you clearly could be, a positive role model and example for everyone else south of you that could be doing a lot more that are not, obviously. I mean, So thank you for your comments. And thank you, Dr. Stern. I'm,
Yes.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
Excited
Thank you very
about,
much.
the possibility of this project not moving forward, but there's always hope. And thank you for everything that you do and all the time and energy that the volunteers that you corral and get together in order to do this. And I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in the new year regarding that. Other than that, I think I'm good.
Thank you.
So I'll
Thank you,
make a
Dr.
couple
Stern.
comments. I won't prolong the meeting because I would agree with everything everybody said. And congratulations, Colleen, that's a wonderful honor. And I just want to say thank everybody in Beach Haven. It's a wonderful community. I love it. And I'm very happy that I was able to serve as long as I did. And I look forward to doing a lot of other fun things. So thank you all. And I know you that remain, the rest of you at this, in this podium will do a wonderful job. And we have a wonderful community with wonderful people. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Thank
I'll
you.
second.
All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.